Hey guys, I'm Rebecca and I help you build a life of freedom, creativity, and business success. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how you actually build a compelling brand story. So there's a mistake with brand storytelling that I see a lot happening, and it's costing people a lot of money because the brand story is not built throughout like your copy on your website or on your content or anything like that. It's actually built through actions that you can take. And that those actions are going to help you shape the audience perception. And that's where your story becomes compelling. So most people think branding is about finding the right words to describe your brand to your audience. But that's not what it really is. It is defined by what people actually remember about your brand. And they're going to remember more things that you do than just the words that they see. So a book that comes to mind when people talk about brand storytelling usually is Storybrand, for instance. It's a book written by Donald Miller. I've read it. It's a really good book. Don't get me wrong, but that book is mainly going to help you shape the copy. The copy is important. I'm not saying that it is not, but the story is going to be shaped by more than just the copy. And that's what I want to do today differently, so that you walk away out of this video with something that you can actually start applying and something that's more effective for your brand. So if you can shape the audience perception, it's going to improve your brand value. So the things that I'm going to present today, they come from a book that I read that is called The Diary of a CEO. And that book, I thought it was mind-blowing. But the section that I'm going to talk about today specifically is the story part. It's one of the pillars that the author presents. The writer talks about the psychological laws behind how humans assign meaning and value. And that's really important for branding, because branding at its core, it's psychology, first of all. So let's talk about what branding really is before I present you how you can actually shape the audience perception. If you are building a brand and you want to shape the audience perception, you have to understand that this is about psychology. So it's not logical, it's emotional, it's contextual. The way that we work, we are not like logical machines. We think about things when comparing to other things. We have emotional triggers, like we want to be safe, we want to preserve our safety in the world. So we have psychological responses. And those psychological responses, they shape how we perceive value and other things. They shape how we make decisions, like buying from you, like buying from someone else, like buying one of the options that you want the client to choose, for instance. So the brands that feel powerful, they aren't always the most practical ones. Usually not. They're the ones that understand how humans actually pay attention. Yeah. Remember and talk about things. So there's where these laws that I'm going to present, they come in, because they have a lot to do with like how humans react and pay attention and share things. So these laws, they are basically tools for making decisions that make your brand more memorable, more valuable, and easier to believe without having to talk louder, which we love. So the first thing that's going to help you shape the audience perception that you can start applying today is to make one unforgettable move. Yes, make one unforgettable move. I know they sound cliche, like what you're talking about, but in the book, there's a law, like the law 10, and the author talks about useless absurdity defines you more than usefulness. So instead of talking about how practical your product is and all the features, that's not going to be as effective as something completely absurd that you can do. Yes, I know. So the book gives an example of a founder spending around, I think it was $3,000 on a massive blue slide. On paper, it was like a terrible financial decision, obviously, and didn't improve the product, it didn't scale the business, but it sent a message. And sending messages is really important. So it sent the message of the brand being disruptive, different, young, and bold. And that got the brand through like massive press and just a lot of visibility, just for that one dumb decision. That's the power of absurdity. It works really well to send a message. In many cases, your public story won't be defined by how useful your product is. It will be defined by the most absurd thing people associate with your brand. Think about Tesla. Tesla did a lot of that. This is an example that appears a lot in the book as well. Tesla doesn't spend money on advertising. Instead, the cars have features that are borderline absurd. Karaoke mode, fart sounds, bioweapon defense mode, a lot of like absurd things. None of those are necessary, but they make the brand unforgettable and they spread the story for free. So Absurdity is gonna be the most cost-effective way to get your message out there. So the second thing, don't be bland or boring. So there's a law called avoid wallpaper at all costs. The thing about this law is that you don't want people to ignore your brand. Like that's the least thing that you want. And I see that throughout the book in many like parts, because I think at the end of the day, we want people to remember us. So another reason why brands struggle to stand out is something called habituation. Our brains are designed to tune out what feels familiar or repetitive. So overused phrase, overused calls to action, overused formats, they stop working over time. They become wallpaper. The more people are exposed to something, the more they tend to ignore it. And that brings me to the third advice. Polarization is proof you have a voice. So when it comes to brand, we tend to define the positioning, we tend to define our values, and we often forget about what we are not. So if you have a voice, people are going to disagree with you. Like that's a good thing, actually. That means that your positioning is working. So there's a law in the book called Law 12 in the book called You Must Piss People Off. This one is uncomfortable, but important. Indifference is the fastest way for a brand to disappear. So the least thing that you want is your audience to ignore you. You're gonna end up pissing some people off, and that's a good thing. In the book specifically, they want to connect with 20% and lose 80% of the audience. Because negative emotion can be a good thing. Strong brands trigger emotions. There's a reason books with swear words in the title sell more. You have to force a reaction. If nobody disagrees with you, you're probably not saying anything meaningful. The goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to deeply resonate with the right people. So a brand has a voice. A brand has personality and emotional edges. If you're not slightly disruptive, you're probably blending in. And that's the least outcome that you want. Like that's the one that's gonna cost you the most money. Fourth thing, invest in small perception shifts. In the book, the author says, shoot your psychological moonshots first. What's a psychological moonshot? It's a small action that dramatically improves perception. We are not talking about reality. We are talking about perception. So there are some small actions that you can actually take that don't cost you a lot of money, and they shape the audience perception like nothing else. So that's the thing that you want to be investing in. Perception is often cheaper, faster, and more powerful to influence people. So things like little rituals, moments, and routines, they matter a lot. It can be like how you receive a client, how you end the project, the packaging of your project, of your product. So a good example is Uber. So Uber changed the game because before, when you requested a cab, you didn't see like how many minutes were left for the cab to arrive. So you were left in uncertainty. And that can be really triggering for clients. So reducing uncertainty matters a lot. Transparency matters. Letting people see what's happening is really important. So that's how Uber got very successful. So the thing about Uber letting you track your driver didn't change reality at all. It changed anxiety. It's almost always more effective to invest in perception than in perfection. Number 5, let's do it. We are doing it. A little friction can increase value. It sounds counterintuitive, I know. This one surprises people. Sometimes making things harder actually can increase the value of something. And increasing value is something really powerful. So if something is too easy, people tend to ignore it more. So if you add a little friction, the author gives the example of a recipe. When it was too easy, people used to not trust it so much. But when they added like this very small thing to add an egg, sales went up. Effort creates meaning. If everything is instant, effortless, and frictionless, it can actually feel disposable. So we want the audience to feel like something took a little bit of effort. Number 6, context is king. Context is really, really important. for your brand story. So this one comes from law number 15. The frame matters more than the picture. So the packaging of your iPhone increases the value of your iPhone. Context shapes value more than reality itself. The weight of packaging change how premium something feels. For instance, let me give you a quick example that's in a book. 90% fat-free feels better than contains 10% fat. Even though it's the same thing, right? Reality is often filtered through framing. That's branding. How you frame things. You're not just designing the product, right? You're designing the experience around it. So that's something that you can apply as well in your brand story. How you frame things. Number 7, this is a really good one. You have to make people feel like they made the safest choice, the obvious choice. And that can work really well. Like the author gives an example that I think illustrates this very well, which is like when you have different packages, people tend to need to compare things. They don't evaluate prices in isolation. They evaluate prices when comparing to other things. That's anchoring. So if you place two extreme options to the option you actually want people to buy, the middle option feels very safe. And that's what people usually choose because they think, oh, that's the one that's too high. It's too much of a risk. And the other one is too low to be good. So the middle one, it's more reasonable. So that's like perception is relative to other things. This is also something really good to start understanding is that perception is not about how something really is, but it's also about context, about frame, how we discussed, about anchoring and comparing. So you can use that to your advantage. So you can actually make decisions that shape the audience perception in your favor. How you want the audience to see your brand. Because think about it like this. The brand story is what you want to tell to people, how you want to engage your audience. And the strategy is the actual thing that you're going to put into practice in order to do that. So that's the brand strategy. It's not just, oh, mission, vision, and values. Those are very basic things that you need to understand about your brand. But the strategy, the real strategy is putting things into work. Number 8, give people something that they can walk away with, something they can own. Whether that can be like a sample or a digital asset, something that they feel like, I own this. Why? One of the strongest psychological biases is the endowment effect. When people feel like something is theirs, they value it much more, even if the objective value didn't change at all. The ownership experience is very powerful. That's why in Apple stores, they don't just show you the iPhone. They make you touch it and feel it, hold it, try it. Because once it's in your hands, the decision shifts. And we know it does. So the branding lesson here is don't tell people what it is. Let them experience a version of it. Give them something that they can walk away with, even if it's something small. Because ownership creates attachment faster than convincing ever will. Win the first 5 seconds or lose the story. So this is the last one, I promise. This one is simple, but brutal. You're not fighting for the attention of your ideal customer. Sounds weird. You're fighting for the attention of your most uninterested customer. So the first 5 seconds, they decide everything. And you know this, like we create hooks for videos. We know people are in a busy world with lots of things trying to grab their attention. So this one is kind of obvious actually, but first impressions, first 5 seconds, think about like the first impact they can make. If you don't warn attention immediately, the rest of your story doesn't matter. This is why your first line, your first visual, your first sentence, that's branding too. Because attention is the entry point to perception. And with that, we are wrapping up the 9 things that you can start applying today to create a compelling brand story and actually put it into practice. So why this matters? This matters because branding goes far beyond copy. Words matter, but actions, context, and behavior shape perception faster. If you understand these principles, you can start making decisions that quietly increase the perceived value of your brand. Not by saying more, but actually by doing things that people remember. So let's go back. Absurd moments, distinct language, emotional edges, small perception shifts, framing, choice architecture, ownership, and attention. Those are all things that are key in shaping the audience perception. Because at the end of the day, branding isn't about what you say. It's about what people remember and the value that they attach to the memory. So if you like this type of content, I'm going to wrap up today. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe to my newsletter where I share insights like these. And I also share resources and systems that I use myself. So that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next ride.